Welcome to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. I'm here with Reno from the band Space Coke, whose album Lunacy will be coming out January 14th of next year. And I particularly like on Bandcamp the tagline, "If the amp don't smoke, it's not Space Coke."
Yeah,
So,
that's right. That actually, it was our first drummer came up with that. It's kind of a true thing because every time we did anything, my stuff would blow up. Literally smoke, catch on fire, not work. Even in practices, like it would break immediately. So the drummer came up with that kind of motto, and we just kept it.
yeah, well, it works on a lot of levels then. Yeah, I had the pleasure of listening to the album today. And what was I kept trying as I was listening to it, I kept trying to think of a good comparison.
Right.
But there really you have such a unique blending of sound, with the organ and the sort of psychedelics combined with the metal. I couldn't think of it. So it's certainly a unique combination that you've come up with,
Right.
and it's really good. If you're
Thank you.
into, I would say what I came up with, if you're into sort of the organ of Deep Purple,
Right.
some of the psychedelics of like Dead Meadow, for example, the
Oh,
riffs of
definitely.
Black Sabbath or Jimi Hendrix, that this is the music for you, because
Yeah, that's great.
it
I love that.
blended it blended all of those things sort of effortlessly. So
Yeah, and it is effortlessly because we just do our thing. There's no planning or we're gonna do this kind of thing, or we just do what we do. And I come from I would say that Deep Purple, yeah, but our organist grew up in a church with a Hammond organ, and he's just has that gospel kind of upbringing, which I like because I like say like Parliament Funkadelic, like this heavy guitar, it's rockish, but you still have that funk soul element to it.
sure,
And I
sure.
just, I'm Latino and I just hate music without keyboards. So
Well, it blends together really well. I would be lying if I said I heard sort of the gospel shining through, but on
yeah,
retrospect, I can sort of see, because gospel is a really powerful, style of music that
yeah,
works really well with what you've got. And some of the psychedelics too, like Sun Ra or the Mothers of Invention, I can sort of see
hmm
the influence coming through there. So
yeah,
it's a great album. I would say when it drops in January, pick it up, but also go back because you have like five other albums that are available on Bandcamp
yeah, yeah.
that
And the sound changes. We had at one point, some of the songs lean towards a little punker, some of them a little more 60s. Like, it's just kind of an evolving sound. This album in particular, I wanted to be a little darker and a little more occult, with less of the kind of like, I guess, punk party kind of feel to it, which I think we really nailed it. Like when you listen to the whole album, it's kind of meant to be listened to as a whole thing, which is another thing I wanted to do. And, a few people have called it an EP, I guess I don't know, it's like 35, 40 minutes long, but we meant are meaning to put it out on vinyl on Forbidden Place, and that was the length of a good vinyl record. So to me, it's an LP.
well, it was interesting to go back, and as you had mentioned, the sound and the style sort of evolves a little bit. It does have more of an occult and psychedelic feel. Some of the previous albums were a little bit more straight up, metal or punk. Um,
Right.
so it's interesting. I would certainly recommend that everyone go back, check out the catalog of Space Coke, just to sort of see. You can sort of track the evolution as it goes forward or as it goes backwards in my case. But it's it's a really great rock album with a lot of
Thank
really
you.
cool elements to it that you wouldn't necessarily find in a lot of other bands.
Right.
Like you guys really utilize the organ well, and yeah, I would definitely say if you're a fan of any of the bands I've mentioned, um, or just great straight up music, then go check out Lunacy when it drops. in January. Now, are you? I had saw that you're in Savannah, Georgia,
Yes.
originally. But
No, I'm there currently. I moved there about a year and a half ago.
okay,
So, kind of setting up home base there now.
gotcha. But the album was recorded in South Carolina.
Yeah, in Columbia, where I'm actually in an Airbnb about 2 blocks from the studio right now. But
Gotcha.
Jay he owns that studio. It's been open 26 years in Columbia, and we do everything there.
Yeah, it's been funny because I've found these sort of pockets of a music scene in places where I wouldn't expect it to be that violent. Like Nashville, Tennessee. There was
Right.
this guy Patrick Nahoda who I spoke to. There was another band I spoke to, Beastwood in Montana. That have really and I know I spoke to aside from Jay and Brandy and the Butcher, which
Hmm.
is more on the punk side. There's
Yeah.
a band Oralayer who
Right. Yeah.
yeah, so it's cool to sort of see these like little regional scenes that have a really great development of music coming around.
Well, for a long time in Columbia, the entire alternative kind of punk metal scene was based around Jay's studio. Before studio equipment became cheap and stuff, and he really is a master. But it's more like the scene here, is the jam room is a recording scene because people travel from Finland to record with him because of he's done Baroness, Black Tusk, Kylesa, all that stuff, and so a lot of fans of those recordings come to meet Jay just for his studio. It's not a big city otherwise. There's some great music here, but as far as that goes, it's kind of a metal hub.
Right. Well, I mean, it's cool. It's certainly you did a great job with the sound on the album.
Yeah,
The
thanks.
the tone of the guitars are great, and like I said, everything sort of blends together. I would, on paper, there are very few bands that I would sign off on. If you said there's going to be some psychedelics and some organ and some really crushing stoner metal riffs, and I would say, okay, there have been a handful, but I would definitely add Space Coke to the list because you guys pull it off
Yeah,
pretty
thanks.
pretty well. And then it was,
Right
as I
on.
said, it was interesting to go back and sort of see how you evolved to get to the present moment. So, do you have? I mean, you've moved to Savannah. Do you have upcoming plans in 22 after the album drops? Are you going to be playing shows or?
Yeah, I mean, we as of right now is concentrating on releasing the album. As I was playing in another band, I was playing in a goth band with Laura Pleasance, who's one of the two leaders of Kylesa, and I was kind of doing that up until the start of December, and then getting back to the Space Coat thing. We have an album release show in the first week of February in Savannah, and that's kind of the only thing I have planned so far. But I'm starting to get back into it. I really wanted to concentrate on like promoting and releasing the album before I start worrying about shows again.
Sure.
And
Yeah, no, I
also,
go
right
on.
after the pandemic, we played our first show back, and it was amazing. People were super psyched, but I got COVID instantly, so I was kind of put off by that. It
Sure.
really hit me pretty hard. So I kind of was like, all right, I'll wait.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, no, I figured obviously the album coming out, you want to, give that the proper focus and push
Yes.
that. Um, but I sort of figured now, now it's at the point where I feel like a lot of bands are beginning to come back and start playing live shows again, and it'll be
Yes.
great to have you, be out there and play the new music. Um,
Yeah, we really are. We have a kind of unique live thing. Our shows are, I don't know, I mean, they're weird, but Space Cook started as basically, we wrote songs so we could make the live show about them. We weren't originally even going to record stuff. And if, like on the Bandcamp, there's a live on the radio set on there. It's like one of the first things we put on there, and you can really hear what it sounds more like a live show the way I'm talking over the songs and stuff. But I like to, invent stories and improvise on songs and keep it loose when we play. So it's pretty fun.
sure. Yeah. So I mean, I would say if you have the opportunity next year, to go see Space Coke play, definitely you should. If you don't, you should pick up the album, and then go check out their back catalog on Bandcamp or wherever you can get stuff. But yeah, I guess the other question I had, I could hear certain influences in your music, but do you have specific, bands that were sort of important to you putting this music together?
Well, I've always been a big fan, and I always say this, of the Butthole Surfers. Like, if you listen, they have an album that I had when I was a teenager that was cassette only called Double Live, and you can probably listen to it online right now, but it's just total mayhem. And I really love that album. There's always the Hendrix psychedelic and the Sabbath kind of doomier side of things that are in there. But in particular, there's an album by Helios Creed, who played in Chrome, and it's called The Last Laugh. And if you listen to that record, like, that was always the psychedelic record I wanted to make. And that's a huge influence on me. But and one of the things about it is when we record, it's really hard to have like effects on the vocals and really affected psychedelic guitars. And you play it, it sounds good, but when you record it, it just sounds like mush. So I think this album on Lunacy, it's like I really got to do closer to that than I had before, where there's a lot of the weird stuff, but it really sits well together.
Yeah, I initially I went, the vocals had sort of a psychedelic feel, and it took a second for me to realize that was like a purposeful thing. But once I did, I mean, it really fit. The vocals, the psychedelics, the organ, everything really works well together. And by the way, I used to listen to a song called Two Parter by the Butthole Surfers all the time when I was teaching in Hong Kong.
Oh, wow.
When I would go to the racetrack, and that was like my song of choice.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that's really cool though, because like I wouldn't have picked that out. It was sort of difficult. There are like you'd said, there's some influences that are really more obvious than others, but
right.
I'll have to check out that.
Well, I'm always interested to hear, because
yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm interested to hear when people say. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Keep going.
It's always interesting to hear what people hear out of it, because, like I said, I don't really concentrate on what I'm doing. Space Cook was always just my band to just do what flowed naturally to me, and being the front man, just kind of do whatever I wanted live, and I just have kind of a band supporting that. So I don't really go in saying like like I said, this time I wanted to do a little darker album just because I wanted to, but I didn't really think of what I wanted it to sound like. It's just me doing my thing.
Right. Well, I would say you definitely achieved whatever you set out to do. If occult and psychedelic and darker was the goal, then that's what I came away with.
Thank you.
And there were certain things that I probably projected onto it, that possibly weren't there, but just that's what I took away from it. But it's a great album. It's definitely not like anything else I've heard.
I like that.
So definitely check out Space Coke. Lunacy drops in January of next year, I believe January 14th.
Yes.
And if people want to find you, I know you're on social media. The band is Space Coke. You can find it on Bandcamp, and the album will be out next year. But,
as far as if people want to interact with me, I'm most responsive on Instagram, just because I don't really like using Facebook, even though we have that. And then, the Bandcamp is the place to go listen.
Gotcha. So check out Space Coke on Bandcamp. If you want to leave a message, go to Instagram. But any other final words?
No, I mean, I'm interested in what you say about hearing, when you say you hear things that from your own experience that I might not necessarily put into the music. I really like that. So if people, let me know what other people hear from it. I'm always interested in how my music comes across as somebody that didn't make it. So
Well, what'll be great is there's definitely it's one of those albums that I'll keep hearing stuff. Like I'll go
Yeah,
back and listen to it a couple of times and I'll hear
yeah,
new
yeah,
things. It's really layered with a lot of cool stuff.
yeah. Thanks.
I picked up on a couple things that I thought, okay, this sounds like it's, like I said, the organ had sort of a Deep Purple vibe to it.
Hmm.
Um, but there's a ton of stuff in there. So yeah, if you listen to the album and you find stuff out, then of course hit up Reno on Instagram and get the album because it's a banger. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, I will definitely keep listening to the music and check out any new stuff. But good luck with everything.
Yeah,
And,
thank you. It's nice talking to you.
yeah, absolutely. Take care.
You too.
Okay.
All right, bye.